That's right, it is our very special assembly today, and we are joined live right now. We are joined live right now with Jack. Hello, Jack.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Jack. Do you want to tell us where you are, Jack, at this moment in time?
So we are live in the very wet Folly Farm in Pembrokeshire.
Oh, fantastic. We are live at Folly Farm Zoo in Wales. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Jack.
You're more than welcome.
And I think you'll tell us about your special job.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. We'll hand over to you.
Excellent. So good morning, all. How crazy is your head teacher, by the way? He's mental. It's brilliant. So my name's Jack, and I am the rhino keeper here at Folly Farm Zoo in Wales. And what I'm going to do is introduce you to our 4 rhinos that we've got here at Folly Farm. They're very special rhinos. They're very rare, which means there's not very many of them left in the world. So it's really important that we have them here, and we are breeding them. So we're enabling them to start a family. And lucky enough, this year, on the 16th of January, we actually had a calf, which is amazing. It's our first calf to be born here at Folly, and the first calf in Wales, actually. And so his name is Glyn. We gave him a Welsh name, very fitting as well. It's the name of the founding director of Folly Farm, who sadly passed away. So it's quite a fitting name for our little calf. So I'll introduce you to him in just a second. So what I'll do is I'll just take you sort of behind the scenes here. So this is our lovely archway. So if any of you've been here, you may have seen this archway behind me called Kifaru Reserve. Kifaru is Swahili, which is a language in Africa, and this means rhino. So this is our rhino reserve. So what I'll do is I'll just flip the camera around, and it'll make it a lot easier for me to show you around.
And is the zoo open at the moment, Jack?
They were actually closed at the moment. Sorry, trying to get used to this camera. So we're closed at the moment due to the COVID crisis. We don't really know when we're going to be able to reopen. It has just been announced that UK zoos can open from next week. Zoos in England can open from next week. But because we are in Wales, our rules are slightly different. So we're not really sure when we can reopen, but we really hope we can reopen soon. We're really missing our visitors. And of course, lots of visitors bring in the money to feed the animals. So we really desperately need our visitors to help us feed the animals, and so that it enables us to take part in our important breeding programs and conservation work that we do here. So we're really keeping our fingers crossed that the Welsh Government allows us to open again and welcome you all back. So I have heard that lots of you have been to Folly Farm, so that's absolutely fantastic. And it's great that you've supported us and supporting our conservation work. And so let's get on with it. I'll just flip the camera back around, and I'll take you through the archway here. So it's a very quiet area here today, because obviously there's no one around. But what we're going to do is we're going to take you in here, and this is where I'm going to lower my voice slightly, because these rhinos don't really like much noise. So we're going to go into the enclosure here. So we do have to have these metal bars just here, and this doesn't look very nice, but it keeps us safe. So it means that the rhinos can't get out, and it keeps them safe and where they're meant to be as well. We don't want rhinos running around Pembrokeshire. And in here we have little Glyn. So they're inside today, and they do have access outside. Hey, Dakima, good girl. And Dakima is mum, and she's going to come over. Hello, darling. Good girl. So this is mum Dakima. She's got a very big horn, and in the background we have Glyn. And I know why he's sat there, because there is a heat lamp above him. So he is a real softie, just like his mum, and likes the finer things in life. So I've got a little question here. Are the animals getting used to no visitors, or do they miss us? So that's from Orson. So some of the animals do miss you. So, for example, the lions really like attention from public. So they like to look out for children and public and our guests. So they really do miss you. So they, I expect, are looking forward to being open again. Some animals, such as the rhinos here, are quite nervous. So it's going to take them a little while just to get used to having people around again. But I'm sure it won't take them very long. So these rhinos are called black rhinos. And I'll just take you back over here to a little display that I set up for you guys, just to explain how many rhino species there are. So there are actually 5 different types of rhino. Or species. And the ones that we've got here are called the black rhino. And these are from Africa. And there's also a rhino called the white rhino, which is this huge beast. And I hope you can all still hear me. Just had a message saying you might have trouble connecting.
I think it's come back a bit clearer now.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, Jack. Hi, Jack. I think you're back. We can see and hear you now, Jack.
Did you get all of that?
I think we got some of it. I think we're back now. We've got a few questions I'll put up on the screen.
Okay, no problem. So Jasper would like to know how old the mum is. So mum is actually, she's 7 years old now. Sorry, no, 6 years old. And then little Glyn here, he is now just about 4 months old. How long have we had rhinos at Folly Farm? So we've had rhinos here for 5 years now. And so we are really lucky to have a little calf here, because the pregnancy or gestation of a rhino is 15 to 16 months. So we were waiting 15 months just for Glyn here to arrive. So I've got another question from Thomas. Do you have baby giraffes at your zoo? Sorry, from Imogen. We don't have any baby giraffes, and this is because we just have the male giraffes, so we don't have any girls at the moment. But really good question. How many people usually come in a day to visit? So we have, in the summer, we have around 4,000 to 5,000 people every day come and learn about our animals. And and we're also open in the winter as well. So I'm just going to flip the camera back around. How many rhinos have you got? So we have 4 rhinos here now. And what I'll do is we'll go and introduce you to some other rhinos, which are out in the field. So we've met mum and calf, and now hopefully we will go and meet dad.
And Jack, how did you come to work with the rhinos?
I'll just come out the house a second because it's quite noisy for the baby.
Yeah, Jack. How did you
back out in the rain?
How did you come to work with the rhinos?
So I came to work with the rhinos because I was already working here with the giraffes, and I'd been working here for around a year and a half, and with the giraffes, and then it was announced that we were getting the rhinos, and my boss entrusted me with the task of learning all about the rhinos and making sure that they were going to settle in into their new home. So we designed this really lovely enclosure for them, and yeah, the result has been fantastic because they've started to breed. Before I worked here, I went to college. So I went to college to study animal management, which was a brilliant course. And after that, I did 3 years on a degree program. So I did a degree in animal management, and it does exist. There is such thing as a degree in animals. There's a degree in everything these days, and that gave me a really good understanding of animals and how to look after them, and why it's so important to look after them as well, and why they're becoming rare and endangered. So I've got another question from Ben in year 1. Hello, Ben. What do the animals eat? So all animals are very different. So they all have very different diets. So when we feed them in a zoo, we need to look at what they eat in the wild. What they eat is really important. It keeps them really healthy, just like you and I. It's important to have a good diet, and we need to give these animals a good diet as well. So when we look at what they eat, we look at what they eat in the wild. And these black rhinos here are mainly tree eaters, which means that they're browsers, which means they like to eat trees. And so you might have seen just now, Dakima was nibbling on some trees and branches. So they eat the leaves and also the twigs as well, the wood, which is a really weird diet. And I'm just feeding in Cozy here some carrots. So carrots are just kind of a treat for them to eat. So we like to give them as many trees as possible because this is what they'd eat naturally out in the wilds. And we can give them lots of trees that we cut down here ourselves. So we grow trees here at Folly Farm, and this feeds our rhinos on a daily basis. And we top up their diet with some hay, which is really special hay for them that we import, and that's really good for them. And I've got another question from Ava. How tall will a baby rhino get when it grows up? So I'll just show you Dad here because he's quite a good representation of how big a boy will get. I'll just flip the camera around for you to see. So Dad here is probably around 1.5 to 2 meters tall, and he has a huge horn on him, and he weighs 1,400 kilograms. So that is incredibly big. They love a good scratch. I've got another question from Harry. Hello, Harry. How long can a rhino's horn grow? So that is a really great question. The horn itself grows as long as it wants to, as they want it to, basically. So rhinos are just like rhino horn is just like a fingernail. So it can grow all the time. It grows continuously. and they rub it down themselves. So they file it down themselves. And Cozy here may well rub his horn today because it is nice and wet. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you get out the shower or out the bath, your fingernails will be very soft, and this means that they're easier to cut. So your parents may well cut your fingernails or toenails when you come out of the shower. The horn here is exactly the same material. So when it rains here in Wales, it means that the horn becomes a lot softer and they're able to rub it on things. So each rhino has their own style, their own way of rubbing their horn. And this means that they have very different horns from each other. So they look very individual. So they can grow up to kind of a foot to a foot and a half in length. So they can get very long if they want them to. So that was a really good question.
And where would we normally find rhinos, Jack?
Yes, so these rhinos, the black rhino comes from Africa. So you can find them, these ones, in Eastern Africa. So countries such as Kenya and Tanzania. So do go and look up those countries on a map if you've got time.
And before they were at Folly Farm, where did the rhinos come from?
So this one here is Dad and Cozy, and he came from Port Lympne, which is a zoo in Kent, or a wildlife park in Kent. And our other two rhinos, we've got one in the back just there, that's Manyara. She came from Chester Zoo, so the very famous Chester Zoo, and Dikima was also from Chester Zoo as well. So they were all born in the UK, and they're all quite used to this climate here in Wales, in the UK, and yeah, and used to people as well, and used to being in captivity. And you're very privileged actually, because Cozy here loves a good scratch sometimes, and he's actually going to roll over for us. Oh, just got a bit of water on the lens there. Sorry about that. So even though they have very thick skin, their skin is very sensitive, and this means that they love to be scratched.
And it's quite a texture.
Yes. So you can see compared to sort of my fingernail, their folds of skin is very big. This skin is very hard on the top of their body, and this is to protect it. So it means that any predators, such as lions, if they were to get hold of a rhino, which would be very rare, but it would mean that they'd be very difficult to get hold of. So this is a very playful and cozy just here. But back to their skin, they have very soft skin around their ears and under their folds. So on top of their body, it's important that they keep very well protected from the sun and also predators. I'll just point out this lip here. You may have noticed it was very pointed. And this is typical of a black rhino because they like to eat trees, as I mentioned earlier. You going to show us your lip? And they love to eat trees, and they use this lip to basically grasp hold of those trees. So it's very mobile, and they can move it in all different directions. And this means that they can get hold of the tree, and it's a bit like a trunk on an elephant.
Absolutely amazing, Jack. What beautiful animals.
They certainly are. So if anyone has any more questions, do post them on the group.
How long does a rhino typically live for, Jack?
So the black rhino lives for around 35 to 40 years. So quite a long time for an animal, really. When you think a dog lives to around 15 years, a rhino can live double that. So yeah, they're quite a long-lived animal. So our little calf, Glyn, and only 4.5